Good morning. It is Monday morning, January 14th. We are already halfway through the first month of the year. It's crazy. This weekend, Missy, my significant other, I'd say my better half, but she's probably my better third. Anyway, she had kind of a comeback meet this weekend. Early last year, I want to say February, she competed at the IPA Tennessee State meet. I think that's what the meet was called. Definitely IPA. And it was our first foray into the IPA. Bobby Betts was the meet director, whom I know has lifted and had lifters at SPF meets when I was judging several meets for the SPF. And so she had cut down to 165 and total elite at 45 years old. Very exciting. It was a long-term goal for her. It was really the primary goal she set when she started competing, that she wanted to eventually, knowing that she was going to be a master age lifter, hit an elite total. So she got that done, and we started the process. We had competed probably a few weeks prior in January at Lee Woody's strongman competition. I can't remember what that one was called, but we both did well enough to qualify for nationals, which is all we wanted to do. And so it was on to training for nationals. One of the events that we really felt good about for strong woman nationals, strongman nationals, whatever, was car deadlift. Deadlift is in her wheelhouse, not only as a power lifter, but as a strongman competitor. At the previous year at nationals, she was the only competitor, and they had several in her age and weight bracket. I want to say it was a 400-pound axle, and she was the only competitor to not only pull it, but to do 2 reps. Should have had 3. And so she had, and at Lee's meet, she did a frame deadlift. It was, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I wanted to say she pulled over 500 pounds. Granted, it was a high pick, but still, you know, this isn't a giant woman, and she was, you know, cutting for this meet. So, and Melissa's about 5'9", 5'10", so that's pretty lean, you know, for a strength athlete at that height. So the bottom line is pulling is definitely a strong point for her. Definitely a strength and good event for her. The reason why I'm bringing that up is after the first couple of reps, I was, you know, hollering my brains out at her, but I could see she was really leaning forward. And that's a huge mistake in the car deadlift. You really need to be pushing back almost like a hack squat while you're pulling. And she had a lower back, mid-back injury into the hips and hamstring. So she lost an event that she should have won and was very, very frustrated, very dejected, was very tearful. And I'm not making fun of her. I know how hard she trained, and we really felt like everything lined up for her to win. To her credit, she gutted it out, even though she kept trying to convince me that quitting would be the best thing, and she finished the contest, and I want to say placed second, which is still great, you know, having the previous year placed third. But the injury was tough, and not only do I think she was disappointed and dejected, I think she became fearful, and I think she would tell you that. So we went through several weeks of where she was just lifting lightly, and she had decided she was going to retire. So I didn't fight it initially, because it was like, okay, I mean, if you don't have a passion for something, and it's not about your well-being or your livelihood, you probably shouldn't do it. You know, especially at this point in our lives, if I don't like it, you know, I'm not doing it. You know, especially if it's something that I do voluntarily, because I enjoy doing it. That's really the whole point. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time doing shit I don't like. So she slowly came around and she started squatting, started deadlifting, and we got into a huge argument about having goals. And she didn't want to have the pressure of a goal, but I'm like, then what's the point in doing all this? So we butted heads pretty hard on it, and she set some really short-term goals, and so we changed the approach from what I have typically programmed for her and tried to work on some things, because one of the things that Melissa and I had talked about was the entire time Melissa and I dated, from the moment I met Melissa judging a meet, the Women's Pro-Am in Cincinnati in 2013. There has never been a time until after Strongman Nationals last summer, which was the end of June, that she has not been in some sort of prep mode for one of three sports, and most of the time for multiple sports. There was a period of time, not last year, the year before, that in a 3-month period, she did a strongman competition for Strongman Corp. It was Beast of the Bluegrass, and won the competition, qualified for nationals, did an Olympic meet, and went 5 for 6 and did really well. Then it wasn't a little long. Then she did Strong Woman Nationals in Detroit, and I was gone. I was in Belarus with Jennifer. So Melissa drove herself up there, and then I got there the day of the competition. Then it wasn't but 2 or 3 weeks later that she had dieted down to 165 and was trying to total elite. And this is all in a 90 to 100 day period of time. So the thing is that in a young person, this is the wear and tear and the toll that it takes on the body is for real. In a woman that is 45 years old, well, any athlete, is not gender related, especially someone that's long and lean. It just eventually it comes to a roost, and I think it finally did. Not only physically, but simply mentally and emotionally, it just gets to be too much. And so she took a much needed break, and we had already discussed that maybe after this that we just do some training, just focus on like things that we wanted to bring up, and correct and make better. And so that was the approach. I changed some things with how she squatted, and she decided she wanted to do, many of the people in our gym are doing USA powerlifting meets, and she wanted to be part of that team and decided that she would go the route of USPA because she could do raw with wraps. And so she started the process of learning to walk out the weight. She's also very accustomed to using a squat bar, which the USPA does, and she enjoys deadlifting with a deadlift bar. USPA does that and allows you to bench on your toes. So it's kind of like some of the rules of the USA powerlifting, but the USPA allows you to use the dark side gear with the bars, but you have to walk out the squat. So it's the same but different, or different but the same. However you want to look at it. To her credit, she really worked hard on the squat. One of the things that we had a problem with was just simply, she has a flexibility issue. She is one of the 2 tightest athletes I've ever worked with. And the other one was a friend of mine, Richard Callahan, whom when I started coaching him was a fighter, and tight. And so that comes with its own issues, because there's always, especially in the shoulder girdle and elbows and the rib cage, she really has difficulty, and it was the same with Rich. So we're always fighting that, but you only have so much time to warm up, so much time to work on mobility, and it can be overdone. And we've had to modify that. We've had to have conversations about, hey, we're spending 45 minutes doing mobility, and you are on a time crunch, so we're gonna have to make some adjustments here and some prioritization. And so, without getting into, I'll cover in the next video what we did with the training and what made the big differences with her squat, because squat was by far the most improved. Now, the meet result did not prove that, and I'll make the next video, I'll talk about that. But Melissa went 7 for 9. She went 2 for 3 in the squat, got called on depth on her third attempt at 341, I believe it was. And so, and she was pretty disappointed. She felt like she was in, I felt like she was in. I thought she had done enough. And based on the internet reaction, many of you thought it was enough. I won't go into that now, but I'll address that. I made a video that I posted as well, so people would understand. The quick and the ugly is, I don't want to shred the judges. They called what they called. They called what they saw, and they were in the ref's chair, and I was not. So whether I agree with them or not is not relevant, because my opinion doesn't matter. Now, I'm going to use that weight in this next training cycle, because she did squat. She didn't miss it due to strength. She missed it due to a technicality. Actually, she missed it due to a judgment call. That's fair enough. So the work, paid off. Ultimately, she is squatting lifetime PRs with and without wraps, and having done it walked out, where we have exclusively, for the most part, used a monolift. Bench is just the albatross, and I won't go into it right away, but there was an issue about a week before the meet that I think hindered this meet. Not making excuses. I didn't know about it until after squats, and that's another conversation for another time. But Melissa went 2 for 3, hit 145-ish. I think at 143, 154. I was going to go to 159. She wanted to kind of, see if she could get lucky and hit 165, and it would still put her in line with a big deadlift to potentially hit a PR total. But it wasn't to be, and I don't know. I felt pretty confident in 159. I was not so confident in 165. I knew it was a gamble. We went on to the deadlift, and the plan was just to do about 370, which was what she pulled to Total Elite last year. Again, this was a comeback meet, and we were looking to go 9 for 9 and maybe a PR total and a PR squat. That was really the goal, and to be back. We opened where we said at 325, because we decided at that point, we're here, we can't hit the PR total. The bench gamble didn't work. Let's just be aggressive. We get what we get, and we move on. We know that she's back. We know that excuse me, that things are getting to 100%. Let's get what we get, and we'll move on. So I went to, I think the original plan was 353. We went to 358, and to give me a little bit of room in case we went for a bigger pull. And I thought the second attempt actually looked better than the opener. And Melissa's one of those people, come game day on deadlift, she can just bring it. You won't always get that indication in training. And I think a lot of that is, and I'll talk about this extensively when I make the next video, is because she gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, and has to be downstairs warming up. It's usually no later than 4:30. So that's a little tougher time when you compete at 10, 11 o'clock, and you've had a meal or two in you, and and the coffee is kicked in, and you've gone to the bathroom and had some water. It's just a whole different ball game. So I'm not really surprised by the outcome. But we went to 380, it was like 380 point something, almost 381, and pulled it with what I think was probably 2.5, maybe even 5 kilos to spare. And so it was a lifetime PR for her, and her lifetime goal, her all-time goal, has always been to deadlift 400 pounds in a meet. And I think this could potentially be the year, as long as she can stay healthy, and as long as we don't overdo it. She's going to be training for Beast of the Bluegrass. It's going to be kind of an interesting thing for her and I. Beast of the Bluegrass, who's ran by a great pal of mine, Davey McCann. And if you power lift, Olympic lift, if you do the Moss wrestling, CrossFit, strongman, I'm not sure he may even have arm wrestling there. I have not looked at the lineup this year. But Davey runs a great contest, has great equipment, and he's just a good dude. And so, and Melissa and I help sponsor events. We give a little bit of money, as and if he needs it, he contacts us. And I'm always happy to help. And we've bought a bunch of our strongman equipment from him. And we've trained with him a few times. I just can't say enough nice things about him. And but Melissa's going to be doing Beast of the Bluegrass potentially with 3 or 4 of the other Team Ogre folks, and I will not be there to coach them. Ahmed and Holly at this point, maybe some others, we will be in Chicago competing at Equipped Nationals. So it's going to be interesting that she and I will be separated by a state or two and competing, but not with each other and not even in the same sport. So that's the tough part, that's the tough part about it. And so that will be interesting. So there's a lot of you that reached out, not only to me, but especially Melissa, and lended your support with some very positive posts. I know a lot of people were upset about the squat call, and I'm just going to say again, those things happen. It's why you hear the term convincing depth. You kind of make a weird movement. It may give the appearance of it being high, or whatever the case may be. But sometimes the calls don't go your way, and they called what they called. But it was a PR deadlift. We know we're right there to where she can hit a PR total. I think there's a PR squat in her, and if she'll embrace being in this weight class, some of you girls in this weight class thing, but I get it. I'd like to see her weigh 10 more pounds heavier, and I think it would make a big difference, not only in how she lifted, but how she recuperated. Now, I didn't say she should start eating chocolate and pizza every day. Melissa's really smart about her food, smart about, we spend a small fortune in natural supplements, to make sure that she can recover, to keep the joints healthy, and those sort of things. So time will tell. She's also 46, she'll turn 47 later this year, so Father Time eventually catches you. But what I've seen, especially with female lifters, I have no idea what it is, but I've seen, well, look at Ellen Stein. I mean, I'm not even sure how old Ellen is, and the woman just keeps getting better. And, that's just, that, so, Melissa may be one of those people that can continue, pushing those numbers up, and she's in good health. Things seem to be holding together. I think probably this and one other injury and this injury happened before she and I even met. She'd had a hip injury. I think that's by far the worst thing that she's had in her powerlifting career. So, relatively speaking, she's not, as a master, lifter approaching M2, she's not had a multitude of serious injuries. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So today was a little long-winded. I'll make a second video maybe on the way home today. Talk about what happened in the meet. Talk about that squat and what we did in training and what we're going to try to do going forward to not only help her lifts, but to get her ready for this strongman competition. So it should be interesting. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening, and check us out at theogrecompound.com, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And if you need me, give me a shout. All right, everybody. Have a great day.